Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from, then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. I started driving for a rideshare app about 8 months ago. Nights mostly. The money wasn't amazing, but it helped keep the lights on. Most nights were uneventful: drunk college kids, tired bartenders, people trying to get home without a DUI. I kept my head down, didn't ask questions, and knew the streets better than my own apartment. But 3 weeks ago, something happened that made me delete the app for good. It started on a Tuesday night, right after I logged in. My first ping came from a quiet residential block where streetlights barely worked. I pulled up, and a man in a suit, probably mid-40s, got in the back. He didn't say a word, just looked straight ahead. I greeted him like I always do, asked for confirmation on the drop-off. Instead of speaking, he handed me a folded slip of paper. It had coordinates, just numbers. I laughed nervously, asked if he meant to enter an address. He didn't even blink. I should have canceled right then, but something about how calm he was unnerved me. Against my better judgment, I typed the coordinates into maps. It took us about 20 minutes to reach an old warehouse district on the edge of town. No businesses, no homes, just empty buildings and chain-link fences. When we got there, he got out, nodded once, and walked into the darkness. That's it. No words. Just gone. He left a small envelope on the back seat. I didn't open it, just tossed it in the glove box, chalking it up to weird passenger behavior, and finished the shift. The next night, another ping. Different profile, different face, but same exact pickup spot. This guy looked younger, maybe late 20s. Shaky, eyes darting. He got in and didn't say anything at first, then halfway through the ride, he leaned forward and whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." I froze. What does that mean? He didn't answer. Just looked back out the window. His drop-off was behind a boarded-up diner off the highway. When we stopped, he jumped out and disappeared around the corner. Back in my car, I opened the envelope from the night before. Inside was a photo, low-res, black and white, clearly taken from inside a vehicle. It was me driving. Shot from behind, through the headrest. The angle made it clear. Someone had been in my back seat at some point without me realizing. Folded behind the photo was a note that read, "Keep driving. You're doing fine." I turned off the app immediately. Didn't drive for 2 days. Didn't sleep much either. When I finally opened the app again, it pinged before the screen even loaded. Same warehouse location. My heart dropped, but I went. I had to know. This time I parked down the street, watched the building from a distance. After a few minutes, a young woman emerged from the shadows and walked straight to my car. I didn't unlock the door. She knocked once. I cracked the window barely. "I don't know who you are," she said quietly, "but if you value your life, leave now. They're watching through you." She turned and walked away before I could say a word. That was it. I left the car running, grabbed my bag, and walked. Didn't stop until I reached a truck stop 5 miles out. Called a friend to pick me up. I filed a police report. They asked questions like they didn't believe me. When I showed them the photo, they shrugged. Could be anything. They even suggested I might be stressed. Paranoid. I emailed the rideshare company. No reply. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Ride request incoming. I hadn't reinstalled the app. My phone had been wiped. The pickup address? My childhood home. A house I hadn't been near in over a decade. One I never listed anywhere. That night, I found another envelope on my front porch. No stamp. No handwriting. Inside was a USB drive. I plugged it into a laptop at the library the next day. It contained 6 videos. Dash cam footage from my car during rides I never recorded. Angles I never set up. One of the clips showed me sleeping in the front seat, engine off. The time stamp was from the night I pulled over to nap a few weeks back after a long shift. Another showed my apartment hallway. Grainy, but clear enough to see my door. And a man standing just outside it, waiting, for almost 45 minutes. I moved, changed numbers, new job, no more apps, no more rides. But sometimes even now I'll feel my phone buzz, and for a second, I swear I hear that soft notification tone in my head. You have a new request. At first, I thought it was harmless. Just another overly friendly coworker trying too hard to fit in. His name was Mason, hired as a data analyst under my department. He was polite, punctual, always the first to say good morning, and always quick to offer help. He brought coffee for the team, took on extra work without complaining. He asked good questions. He blended in. But he noticed everything. The first red flag was so subtle, I almost missed it. One Monday, he said, "Hope the shrimp tacos were worth the wait." I blinked. "What?" He smiled. "The food truck by River Park. You waited like 15 minutes, right? Totally worth it." I hadn't told anyone I'd gone there. It was Sunday, my day off. I didn't post anything. I laughed it off, assuming it was a guess or some weird coincidence. Then came the gym comment. "Don't you hate when someone hogs the rowing machine? I saw you waiting last night." That made my skin crawl. He wasn't just watching, he was showing me that he was watching. From then on, I started to notice how often we ran into each other outside of work. Grocery store, gas station, a bookstore I barely visited. He always acted like it was chance. Small world, huh? I started documenting it, dates, places, times. At work, he became more passive-aggressive. If I didn't answer his Slack messages fast enough, he'd walk to my desk. If I closed a meeting without acknowledging his input, he'd corner me in the break room. He began inserting himself into personal conversations. When a colleague asked how my weekend was, Mason answered for me. "She hit up that wine bar downtown again, right?" Everyone laughed. I smiled. But inside, I felt sick. Then one morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Maybe today's the day you finally wear that green dress." I hadn't worn that dress in over a year. It was hanging in my closet. Still, I wore black slacks that day. He showed up in a green tie. Winked when he saw me. I reported him to HR. The irony of reporting to a department I helped run wasn't lost on me. But they said it was observational behavior and not harassment. No threats, no violence, no touching. Just attention. So I started to keep distance. No small talk. No reaction. That's when things got worse. People in my department stopped looping me in on projects. I overheard someone say I'd been difficult lately, that I was holding grudges. Then someone forwarded me an email thread where Mason had rewritten a project report I'd led, replacing my name with his in the summary. He told them I'd given him permission, that I wanted to step back. I hadn't. I brought it up again, higher this time. The HR director promised an investigation. Mason went on leave the next week. That night, I found my home printer powered on. I hadn't used it in months. A single sheet sat in the tray. A screenshot of my desktop. It was from earlier that day. I'd had a Zoom call open and a folder labeled evidence_Mason on my screen. I checked my computer. Nothing obvious. No spyware alerts. But something wasn't right. I called a friend in IT security. He dug deeper. Buried in the task manager, behind processes that looked normal, he found a background tool silently taking screenshots every 60 seconds, uploading them to an encrypted cloud folder. It had been running for months. The timestamp on the first capture? 2 days before Mason's first day at work. I left the job, filed an official complaint, pressed charges. They're still investigating. But the last time I opened my laptop, the webcam light flickered for half a second. I keep it covered now, but I can still feel it sometimes, like someone's still watching, waiting for me to forget. I needed to get out of the city. Too much noise, too many people, too many things falling apart in my life all at once. So I took a remote freelance gig and booked a temporary room through a site that specializes in long-term country stays. The photos looked peaceful, a small house surrounded by trees, no neighbors in sight. Just quiet. My host was a man named Gregory. Late 50s, polite, overly formal. He greeted me in a pressed shirt and tie, even though it was nearly 90 degrees. The place was spotless, almost staged, like it wasn't lived in at all. He walked me through the rules right away. No guests. No loud music. Curfew at 9:30 p.m. No cooking after 8. "I like structure," he said with a stiff smile. "It keeps things calm." The first night was fine. Too quiet, Maybe, but I slept better than I had in weeks. But things started to feel off almost immediately after that. Every morning, Gregory would knock on my door, always at exactly 7 a.m., and say, "Breakfast is ready." If I wasn't at the table within 10 minutes, he'd knock again. Harder. At first, I thought he was just trying to be hospitable, but then I noticed he never actually ate. He just sat and watched me. Every bite. The third day, he brought out an old photo album and started showing me pictures of other guests who had stayed there. This was David. He stayed almost a year. Got a little lazy near the end, though. He didn't elaborate, just turned the page. I asked him if he ever had family visit. He shook his head and said, "Family never left." That night, I heard footsteps outside my room around midnight. When I opened the door, no one was there, but a note was taped to the wall. Lights out was at 9:30. The next morning, I found my laptop unplugged and neatly stacked with a Bible on top. Gregory said nothing, just served me toast and watched. I tried calling a friend, but couldn't get a signal. The Wi-Fi was still on, but somehow no outgoing messages were sending. I asked about it, and he said, "Sometimes the system resets when the energy's off balance." That night, I locked my door. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a low humming noise, mechanical, rhythmic. I followed it to the hallway, where I saw light coming from a hatch in the floor I hadn't noticed before. It led to a basement. I knew I shouldn't, but I opened it. The basement wasn't a storage space. It was a room. With a cot, chains, a small metal tray, a clipboard on the wall with names. My name was at the bottom, with today's date. I turned around and Gregory was standing at the top of the stairs. "I was hoping you'd settle in better," he said. "But some people just don't follow the rules." I ran past him, slammed the door, and shoved a chair under the knob. My bag was already half-packed. I grabbed it and climbed out the back window. Left my car. Left everything. I ran through the woods until I hit the highway. The police didn't believe much. They went to the house, sure, but found it empty. No Gregory. No chains. No names on a clipboard. The listing on the site was gone the next day. The messages I'd exchanged with the host disappeared too. I moved in with my sister for a while. Didn't tell her everything. Just enough. But last week, I got a handwritten letter with no return address. No message, just a photo. It was me, sitting at that kitchen table, eating breakfast. I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. A substitute teacher for a language arts class at a public middle school, while the regular teacher recovered from surgery. It was supposed to be easy, hand out assignments, grade quietly, collect a paycheck. But from the very first day, I knew something felt off. The students were too quiet. Not the usual kind of quiet, not bored or distracted. They were watchful, calculating. They stared when I entered the room, whispered when they thought I wasn't listening. Their eyes always flicked toward the back of the classroom, toward the clock. By the end of the first week, someone left a note on my desk. No name, just block letters on ruled paper. "Don't stay past 4 o'clock. I laughed it off at first. Thought it was some kid trying to creep me out. But I asked one of the brighter students, a girl named Sophia, if she knew who left it. She went pale. She didn't say a word, just shook her head and looked away. That same afternoon, while I was in the staff lounge, I mentioned the note to another teacher. She stopped stirring her coffee mid-circle. Her smile faded. "Don't joke about that," she said quietly. I asked what she meant. She just muttered, "You're new," and left the room. I started paying attention. One by one, I noticed that all the teachers left exactly at 3:55. No one stayed behind. No one lingered in the parking lot. Lights were out, doors locked, hallways empty. And yet, every morning, the custodial log said someone cleaned until 6 p.m. But I never saw them. The following Monday, a student handed me a folded paper before class. When I opened it, there was only a drawing, a stick figure standing alone in a hallway, surrounded by eyes. At 3:59 that day, I walked to the main office to ask the principal about it. The secretary stood up before I reached the desk. "You're still here?" she asked. "Yeah, I was hoping to speak with." But she cut me off. "I'm sorry. Everyone's already left. You should too." It was 4:01. When I turned around, the hallway lights began to flicker. Every door along the corridor was closed, except one, the audiovisual room. Slightly open, the static buzz of old TV screens echoing from inside. I approached cautiously. Inside, the room was lit only by the flicker of monitors. Four old CRT TVs stacked on metal carts. One screen showed a loop of the hallway, another a classroom, a third showed the teacher's lounge. The fourth showed me, standing in the AV room. In real time, I turned to leave, but the door creaked shut behind me. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Slow, measured. I ducked behind a shelf, heart pounding, and watched through the small gap in the doorframe. A tall figure in dark clothes passed by. Stopped, turned toward the AV room. The figure wore gloves. No face visible under the hoodie. I waited until the footsteps faded, then slipped out through the emergency exit and ran to my car. I never returned. I filed a report with the school district. They said the cameras hadn't worked in years, that no janitor or security staff matched my description. But 2 days later, I found a box on my porch. No return label. Inside was one of the notes I'd thrown away, the one that said don't stay past 4 o'clock. Taped to it was a USB stick. The only file on it, footage of me, sitting at my desk, and behind me slowly opening the classroom door. Someone I never saw walk in. I've been driving trucks for over 2 decades. Cross-country routes, back roads, storm detours, you name it, I've done it. I've seen weird stuff. Lonely towns, burned-out gas stations, guys walking in the middle of the highway in pitch black. But what happened last fall on Route 17? I still think about that night more than I want to. There'd been an accident on the main road. Pile up. Nothing moving for miles. Dispatch rerouted me down a county road I'd never taken before. No streetlights, no cell service, just gravel and darkness. About 30 minutes into the detour, I saw something on the shoulder ahead. Someone walking. It was a girl, barely more than a teenager. Hoodie, jeans, shoes caked with mud. She didn't try to wave me down, just kept walking with her head low and arms crossed, like she was trying not to exist. I slowed, rolled down the window. "You all right?" I asked. No answer. "Where you headed?" Still nothing. Just a glance, brief and sharp. I pulled over anyway, flipped on the hazard lights. "You need a ride? You shouldn't be out here." She finally nodded. Wordless. Climbed into the passenger seat like she'd done it before. I offered her water. She took it. Didn't drink. "Name's Raymond," I said. "You got one." She hesitated. "Emily." I asked where she lived. She said nothing. Just stared at the dash. I told her I could take her to the nearest town, maybe find a police station or hospital. That's when she whispered, barely audible, "Please don't take me back." Her hands were trembling. Dirty nails. Bruises on her wrists. I asked who she meant. She didn't answer. 10 minutes later, headlights showed up in my mirror. SUV. No plates. No lights. Just following. They stayed back. Not too far. Not too close. I took a few turns to test it. They matched every one. Emily saw it too. She shrank down in the seat. "They always find you," she said. "They let me go because they think I'll lead them to more." I floored it. Dirt kicked up everywhere. My rig doesn't move fast, but it moves hard. We reached a town about 20 minutes later. Small place, one diner, one gas station, one sheriff's office. When I pulled up to the station, the SUV kept driving. Didn't stop. Didn't even slow down. Inside, the sheriff didn't ask many questions. He looked at Emily once, sighed, and said, "She's not the first." I asked what he meant. He said girls like her show up every few months. Don't want to talk. Don't trust anyone. Always scared of the same thing, them. I gave my statement. Left my number. They thanked me and told me I could go. 3 weeks passed. I figured that was it. Then I got a package at a rest stop in Utah. No return address. Inside was a single piece of paper. No threats. No demands. Just one sentence in typed black ink. "You shouldn't have interfered."